The silent warning the galaxy was vast, full of ancient empires and powerful species. Among them, one name was spoken with fear: the Dravak dominion. For thousands of years, the Dravak had ruled with terror. Worlds burned under their fleets, and no army ever stood against them for long. They were the predators of the stars, and everyone else was prey. But one day, deep in the cold void, their listening stations caught something strange. It was a signal, sharp and steady, coming from a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. The planet was called Earth. At first, the Dravak officers laughed. Earth was unknown, unimportant. A young species, only beginning to touch the stars. The signal, they believed, must be a mistake. Perhaps it was a cry for help. Perhaps a simple message of peace. Nothing to worry about. But when their translators worked on it, the laughter stopped. The signal was not a plea. It was not weak words of surrender. It was a warning. To any who would come to Earth with weapons in hand, turn back. We will defend our home. We will not kneel. This is your only warning. The message was repeated again and again, across many channels. Clear and strong. The Dravak High Command gathered in their war chambers. The leaders of the most feared species debated what it meant. Arrogant words, one general growled. They do not understand who we are. We will crush them quickly. Perhaps another whispered, but they are bold. No Kree has spoken to us like this before. The Supreme Commander, an old and scarred Dravak, leaned forward. His black eyes narrowed. A small species should beg, but they do not. This warning, it is dangerous, not because of their power, but because of their spirit. Still, the Dravak were not afraid. They had faced many who resisted. None had lasted. The order was given. A fleet of 10 warships would travel to Earth. Their mission was simple: test these humans, measure their strength, and destroy their hope. Far away, on Earth, people already knew what was coming. Humanity had been preparing in silence. The governments of Earth were united in one thing only: defense. They had seen the galaxy, and they knew danger would come. Beneath the oceans, hidden in mountains, and orbiting high above the planet, secret. Weapons waited. Railguns, dreadnought-class ships, and new technologies that no alien had ever seen before. The humans had sent their warning, not out of pride, but out of choice. They wanted the galaxy to know Earth would not bow as the Dravak. Fleet entered the Sol system. The alien commander sneered. From his view screen, Earth looked fragile, just a small sphere of blue and green. This is what dares to warn us? He mocked. Pathetic. But his officers felt uneasy. The signal still played in the background, echoing through their systems. We will defend our home. We will not kneel. The words were calm, but there was something sharp inside them, something different. The fleet moved closer, ready to send their demand for surrender. But before they could transmit, something happened. Human ships appeared. Not many, only a handful, but they moved with precision. They were smaller than the Dravak cruisers, but their formation was tight, their movements sharp, like hunters waiting for prey. For the first time, the Dravak felt a spark of uncertainty. The human commander's voice came through, steady and cold. You were warned. Leave now, or face the consequences. The Dravak commander laughed and ordered an attack. Energy. Blasts lit the void, rushing toward the human ship's dot, and then the unexpected happened. The humans did not scatter. They did not run. Their ships moved as if they had known the attack before it came. Counterfire struck with deadly accuracy. A Dravak cruiser exploded in fire and silence. Shock spread through the alien fleet. This was not supposed to happen. Prey did not fight like this. The Dravak commander snarled, but inside, a shadow of fear grew. These humans were not afraid. They were ready. The first clash had only just begun, but the message was already clear. Humanity's warning had not been empty words. It was a promise. And now, the most feared species in the galaxy had taken the first step into a war they did not understand. The first clash. The Dravak Dominion had never lost a first battle. For centuries, their enemies always fell in fear, surrendering, before the real war even began. But this time, something was different. In the black silence of space, the Dravak fleet moved in formation. 9 massive cruisers, armed with heavy cannons, spread out like predators surrounding their prey. Their commanders believed this would be a simple strike to show humans their place. But the humans did not run. Only 7 human ships stood against them, much smaller, much weaker in appearance. Yet they moved together like a single mind, their formation shifting with speed that surprised the alien crews. The Dravak commander, Vuruk, growled, "They think formation will save them? Fire at will." Green energy beams lanced out from the eye. Dravak ships, cutting across the void. The humans seemed too slow to dodge. But at the last second, they split apart with perfect timing. Every beam missed. And then the humans struck back. The first human salvo was not a wave of fire, but precise and controlled. Railgun projectiles, glowing with kinetic force, slammed into one of the Dravak cruisers. The alien shield screamed, buckled and failed. One shot. One cruiser crippled. Vuruk's crew stared in shock. Impossible, one hissed. No prey weapon should break our shield so fast. But it had. The humans had studied, prepared, and built weapons designed for one purpose: to pierce through monsters like the Dravak. On Earth, in a hidden command center deep beneath the Atlantic, Admiral Reyes watched the battle unfold. His voice was calm as he spoke to his captains. "Hold your fire. Make every shot count. Let them feel it slowly. They must learn fear." The humans obeyed. They did not waste ammunition. Every shot was careful, deadly, and aimed at weak points the Dravak did not believe existed. On the other side, panic grew inside the alien fleet. Their ships were stronger, larger, and more advanced in numbers. But the humans moved differently. They fought like wolves, not prey. One Dravak ship tried to flank, rushing behind a human vessel. For a moment, it looked like the humans would be caught, but the human captain did not retreat. Instead, he cut engines and turned suddenly, his railguns blazing point blank. The Dravak ship never had a chance. It exploded into burning fragments. The crew of the remaining alien ships froze in disbelief. This is not prey," whispered one officer. "They are fighting like hunters." Commander Vuruk slammed his claws into the armrest. "Do not falter. Overwhelm them with numbers." The Dravak ships surged forward, all weapons firing. Explosions lit the void. Human ships shook, shields flickering, hulls scarred. One human ship took a direct hit. Fire spread across its hull. For a moment, silence filled Earth's command room. Then the captain's voice returned, steady and unbroken. Damage contained. Returning fire. With its last strength, the damaged ship launched a final strike. A railgun round pierced straight through another Dravak cruiser, splitting it apart. The human ship drifted, crippled, but not destroyed. Earth, the operators cheered. Even wounded, humanity fought back. By now, Vuruk felt it the first taste of fear. Never before had a young, primitive species stood against him like this. They were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to kneel. Yet here they were, fighting with fire in their hearts, refusing to break. He realized something far more dangerous than weapons was in play. Human willpower. They fought with desperation, yes, but also with something alien to the Dravak: unity. Every ship trusted the other. Every captain obeyed without hesitation. There was no chaos, no weakness. Only one goal defend their home. Vurak hesitated. If he called for retreat, the High Command would punish him for cowardice. But if he continued, he might lose his fleet. For the first time in his long career, he did not know what to do. Then, a new signal came through the comms. It was a human voice, translated into Dravak speech. Calm, steady, and cold. You were warned. This is only the beginning. Leave now, or you will never leave at all. The words echoed inside every Dravak ship. The crews felt it, not just the message, but the certainty behind it. The humans were not bluffing. They were ready for war. The clash was not over, but already the galaxy's most feared species had learned something they had never expected. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator they had never seen coming. And this was only the first battle. Asterisk. The human counterattack, the battle near Earth, had shaken the Dravak fleet. They had expected an easy victory, a quick strike to shatter human courage. Instead, they had lost ship's men, and worst of all, their certainty. But Commander Vurak still held the advantage in numbers. 6 Dravak cruisers remained, their weapons glowing in the dark void. Against them, only 5 human ships stood, one badly damaged and drifting. To Vurak, the fight was not over. He snarled, "Advance, break their line. This time, leave nothing behind." His ships moved forward like hunters circling their prey, but the humans did not retreat. On Earth, Admiral Reyes gave a quiet order. "Now we strike." The command was simple, but it was the start of something that Dravak had never faced before: a human counterattack. The human fleet suddenly broke formation. Each ship moved on its own path, weaving through the void, darting between the larger cruisers. To the Dravak, it looked like chaos, but it was not chaos. It was a trap. The first human vessel disappeared behind a Dravak cruiser. The alien ship turned, trying to target it. But the human ship was fast, smaller, and moved unpredictably. A flash of light. Railgun rounds struck the cruiser's engines. The giant vessel slowed, drifting helplessly. Then, a second human ship darted in from above, launching missiles. The damaged cruiser exploded into burning wreckage. The alien crews panicked. "They are too small, too fast." Commander Vurak roared, "Focus your fire. Do not let them scatter you." But the humans had already scattered them. Each human ship fought like a lone predator, yet every strike was part of a larger plan. They had studied Dravak tactics, learned their weaknesses, and now they turned those weaknesses into death. Human ship feigned retreat, luring 2 cruisers to chase. As the aliens pursued, another human vessel appeared from the shadows and struck them from the side. Both cruisers were crippled before they even realized what had happened. Inside the Dravak fleet, confusion grew. Orders clashed, sensors failed to keep up, and fear spread. For the first time in history, the galaxy's most feared hunters felt like prey. Meanwhile, on the human flagship, Captain Hayes stood calm, his voice steady as he guided his crew. "Are bigger, stronger, but they think like machines. Predictable. We think like humans. That is why we win." His crew nodded. They were tired, afraid, but their eyes burned with determination. They were fighting not just for survival, but for Earth, for their families, for freedom. That fire made them unstoppable. Back on the Dravak flagship, Vuruk's fury grew. His claws tore into the command chair. He had never been outmaneuvered like this. Every time he thought he had trapped a human ship, it slipped away, striking him from another angle. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They are not following the rules of war." And that was the truth. The Dravak had fought countless wars, but always against enemies who fought the same way: predictable, structured, disciplined. The humans were different. They broke the rules. They made their own. The battle raged on. Another Dravak ship fell. Then another. Fire lit the void, debris spinning silently through space. The humans were bleeding too. One ship was heavily damaged, another barely holding together. But they refused to surrender. Every time a Dravak thought the humans were finished, they struck back harder. Vurak realized too late. The counterattack was not about numbers. It was about will. The humans did not care if they lost ships, as long as they destroyed him. As the battle reached its peak, a chilling moment came. A human voice cut through the comes again, translated into Dravak speech. Calm, steady, certain. This is humanity. You came to test us. Now you see, we are the test you cannot pass. The words spread across the Dravak fleet, breaking whatever pride remained. Officers looked at each other with fear. Some whispered what they dared not say aloud. We cannot win. In the end, only 3 Dravak ships remained, limping and broken. They turned, retreating into the void, leaving behind wreckage and silence. The humans did not chase. They simply watched, their ships battered but still standing. On Earth, Admiral Reyes allowed himself a small smile. Let them run. They will carry our message back to the galaxy. And that message was simple. Humanity was not to be underestimated. But, deep inside, everyone knew this was only the beginning. The Dravak would return. And when they did, humanity would be ready. Asterisk the hidden weapon. The retreat of the Dravak fleet shocked the galaxy. No one had ever seen them run before. Entire star systems whispered in disbelief. How could humans unknown, young, fragile stand against the galaxy's most feared hunters? The Dravak Dominion did not stay silent. In their war halls, commanders shouted, scientists argued, and leaders demanded answers. Their pride was wounded, their reputation cracked. But while they argued, humanity was already preparing for what came next. Because Earth knew the truth. The Dravak would return. And next time, they would not come with a test fleet. They would come with everything. Admiral Reyes stood inside a secret facility deep under the Rocky Mountains. Around him, walls of screens displayed hidden projects, long kept from the galaxy's eyes. One of the scientists stepped forward nervously. Sir, the enemy retreat has given us time. Shall we begin deployment? Reyes nodded slowly. His voice was calm, but heavy. It's time the galaxy learns what humanity has been building in the dark. The scientist smiled faintly. Project Titan will be ready. Far above the Earth, orbiting in silence, something enormous began to wake. For years it had remained hidden, disguised as debris, invisible to enemy scans. But now, with a soft hum that grew into a deep roar, it came alive. It was not a ship like the others. It was a dreadnought, a machine of steel and fire, larger than anything the Dravak had ever faced. Its name was the Resolute, and it was only the first. Meanwhile, the Dravak survivors limped back to their high command. Commander Vurak entered the war chamber, scarred and humiliated. His voice was heavy with shame as he reported, "The humans, they fight differently. Their weapons pierce our shields. Their ships move with speed we cannot predict. We lost half the fleet." The chamber fell silent. Then one of the counselors spat, "Lies! A young species cannot do this." But another whispered, "What if it's true? What if they are dangerous?" The Supreme Commander slammed his claw on the table. "Dangerous or not, they must be crushed. Gather the Grand Fleet. The humans must be erased before others see them as hope." Orders were given. Across the galaxy, Dravak war factories roared to life, preparing for a war greater than any before. On Earth, the humans already knew what was coming. And so they prepared their hidden weapons. In the dark seas, submarines carried missiles meant to pierce even planetary shields. In space, automated drone fleets came online, thousands of small machines ready to swarm, like a storm. But the greatest secret of all was not their weapons. It was their mindset. Humans did not prepare for victory. They prepared for survival. And a species that fights to survive is the most dangerous kind of enemy. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge of his battered ship, watching as the Resolute emerged from shadow. His crew fell silent at the sight. The dreadnought's hull was black, its lines sharp and menacing, its railguns stretching like spears across its length. "It's beautiful," one officer whispered. Hayes shook his head. "No, it's not. Beauty, it's a promise that no one will ever take Earth without blood." Word of the dreadnoughts began to leak into the galaxy. Traders spoke of shadows in Earth's orbit. Smugglers swore they had seen weapons beyond imagination. The rumors spread like wildfire. Some laughed, thinking them myths. Others trembled, knowing the humans had already done the impossible once. And far away, the Dravak listened. If the rumors were true, humanity had something hidden, something deadly. But even they could not imagine the scale of what was coming. In the silence of space, Admiral Reyes stared at the holographic display of Earth's defense network. Around him, his officers waited. "Sir," one asked quietly, "do you really think we can stand against the full Dravak fleet?" Reyes closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there was fire inside. "No," he said, "we will not just stand. We will make them fear." The galaxy's most dangerous species was preparing its grandest war. But humanity had already revealed its greatest secret. They were not just defenders anymore. They were hunters. And the hidden weapon, the dreadnought fleet, was only the beginning. Asterisk. The turning tide the galaxy had seen wars before. Fleets clashed, planets burned, and empires fell. But what was coming now was different. It was not just another war. It was a storm. The Dravak Dominion gathered their grand fleet, hundreds of cruisers, carriers, and dreadships, each one a weapon of terror. Worlds that had once bowed in fear watched in silence. They had seen this fleet before, and every time it had meant doom. But this time, their prey was not weak. Their prey was humanity. Far above Earth, the first human dreadnoughts took position. The Resolute, the Vanguard, and the Horizon moved into orbit, their massive hulls blotting out the stars. When alien observers caught glimpses of these giants, they carried the whispers across the galaxy. "The humans have built monsters," they said, "machines built to kill predators." The war began in the system of Kevara, a border world claimed by the Dravak. They expected an easy defense. A dozen cruisers and planetary batteries waited for the humans. But when the first human fleet arrived, the Dravak learned the truth. The dreadnought Resolute fired once. Just once. A railgun round the size of a shuttle tore through space, moving faster than light sensors could track. It smashed into a cruiser, cutting it in half instantly. The second shot hit a planetary shield, shattering it like glass. The battle that was supposed to last days was over in hours. The Kevara system belonged to humanity. The galaxy trembled. Never before had a young species turned the tide so quickly. But humanity was not finished. Everywhere the Dravak moved, the humans struck back harder. Their fleets were smaller, but their tactics were alive, unpredictable. They did not follow patterns. They did not repeat mistakes. A swarm of human drones ambushed an entire convoy, overwhelming it like a cloud of angry insects. A single human destroyer led 3 Dravak cruisers into an asteroid belt, then used the rocks as weapons, turning space itself into a trap. And every time, human voices broadcasted the same message. "This is Earth. We warned you." "We do not." Kneel. Inside the Dravak Dominion, fear spread like fire. Soldiers whispered in their barracks. Commanders shouted at each other in panic. "They are too fast," one said. "They are too clever," another answered. "They fight like us," someone whispered. "No, worse. They fight like something new. On the human side, victories came with heavy cost. Ships were lost, lives sacrificed. But humanity did not break. Every death made them stronger. Every loss became a lesson. Admiral Reyes addressed the fleet after the third victory. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with iron. "We are not fighting for power," he said. "We are fighting for survival, and survival makes us strong. Remember this. The Dravak rule with fear, but fear belongs to them now." The crews cheered. For the first time in galactic history, soldiers of another species felt hope, but the Dravak were not finished. They unleashed their terror weapon, a supercarrier known as the Eternal Maw, the size of a small moon, carrying thousands of strike. Craft. It was said no enemy had ever faced it and lived. The Maw entered the Clyros system, waiting for humanity to strike. It wanted to end the rebellion in one blow. The human fleet arrived. Smaller, fewer, outnumbered. The galaxy held its breath, and then the humans revealed something the Dravak had never imagined. It was not another dreadnought. It was something stranger. The Aegis Shield. A mobile fortress, a massive defense station launched from Earth itself, built not to kill but to protect. Its barrier absorbed the Maw's endless waves of fire. For every fighter the Dravak sent, the shield swallowed their fury. And while the Dravak wasted their strength, the human dreadnoughts moved into position. The Resolute fired once more. The Eternal Maw cracked apart, its burning wreckage lighting. The void. The galaxy roared. The Dravak's nightmare weapon was gone. For the first time in history, the balance of power shifted. The Dravak had always been the hunters. But now, the prey had become something else. Humanity had turned the tide, and the galaxy began to believe the impossible. The most feared species was no longer the Draga. It was the humans. Asterisk. The final stand. The galaxy had changed. Once, the Dravak. Dominion ruled through fear. Entire civilizations bent their knees when the hunters arrived. But now, whispers spread in every system. Whispers of humans. Some called them reckless. Others called them mad. But one truth echoed everywhere. They had made the Dravak bleed. The Dominion could not allow this insult to stand. Their pride was shattered, their terror weakened. And so they prepared the greatest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. On the edge of the Orion sector, the Dravak gathered. Over 500 ship's cruisers, dreadships, carriers, and flag vessels, all bristling with weapons. Their hulls glowed with power. Their crews were told this would be the last battle, the final strike to erase Earth from history. Commander Vurak stood aboard the Dominion flagship. His scars from earlier defeats still burned. His claws gripped the railing as he spoke to his soldiers. Today we end this mistake. Humanity dared to rise, but they are nothing. We will crush their planet, burn their cities, and make their name forgotten. This is the final stand. A fleet roared in agreement. Meanwhile, far away, humanity was ready. Admiral Reyes stood on the command deck of the human flagship Resolute. Around him, displays showed the approaching storm. The Dravak fleet filled the void, a sea of red markers. One officer whispered, "Sir, they outnumber us 10-1. Reyes's face was calm, but his voice carried steel. "Then we will fight like we always have. Not with numbers, but with spirit." The human fleet was smaller, barely 50 ships. But behind them, orbiting, Earth and hidden stations across the system, humanity's greatest creations waited. Dreadnoughts, drone swarms, the Aegis Shield, and something else. A final secret, revealed only to a handful of commanders. Project Phoenix. The battle began with fire. The Dravak unleashed everything: torpedoes, plasma beams, strike craft by the thousands. The void became a storm of light and death. Human ships shook under the assault. Shields cracked, hulls burned. One destroyer was ripped apart, its crew lost to the void. Another dreadnought took heavy damage, drifting powerless. But humanity did not break. They struck back with precision. Railguns pierced through Dravak hulls. Drone swarms ripped into enemy fighters like a tidal wave. Every time the Dravak pressed forward, humanity gave ground, but always on their own terms, that it was not just a battle. It was a dance. Still, the Dravak numbers pressed harder. One by one, human ships fell. Smoke filled the bridge of the Resolute, alarms screaming. Officers worked frantically, sweat and fear on their faces. "Admiral, we cannot hold much longer." Reyes stared at the chaos, his jaw tight. Then it's time. He turned to his officer. "Activate Project Phoenix." Deep in the black, void, hidden far behind the fleet, something stirred Dot at first. It looked like a broken asteroid, drifting lifelessly. But then its hull split open, revealing massive engines and weapons glowing with power. Dot, it was humanity's true hidden weapon. Not a dreadnought, not a shield. Dot, it was a living ship, a hybrid of machine and AI, built to learn, adapt, and evolve in battle. It was the first of its kind. Its name echoed across human comms. Phoenix, rising. The Dravak fleet froze in shock as the Phoenix moved. Faster than any warship, smarter than any commander, it tore through their lines with brutal precision. Every second it adapted. Every strike was deadlier than the last. A Dravak cruiser fired on it. Phoenix shifted shields and returned fire, destroying the attacker instantly. Carriers launched fighters. Phoenix's drones swarmed them, tearing them apart. Even the Dominion flagship felt the weight of its weapons. For the first time, the hunters felt true panic. On board the Dominion flagship, Vorik roared. It cannot be. No species should wield such power. But deep in his mind, he understood. Humanity was not like the others. They did not follow the rules. They changed the rules, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The final clash raged for hours. Ships burned, fleets shattered, screams echoed across comms. Humanity lost much brave captains, loyal crews, entire ships torn apart. But in the end, when the smoke cleared, only one truth remained. The Dravak fleet was gone. Their greatest armada lay in ruins. And humanity still stood. On Earth, people watched the sky with tears and cheers. The galaxy had expected them to fall. Instead, they had risen higher than anyone believed possible. The final stand had been fought, and humanity had won. Asterisk? The fear of humanity, the smoke of battle still drifted across the stars. Wreckage of Dravak cruisers spun silently, glowing with the last fires of destruction. Where once the Dominion fleet had filled the void with power, now only broken shadows remained. Humanity had stood. Humanity had won. But the victory was not only about ships and weapons. It was about something far greater: fear. On board the human flagship Resolute, Admiral Reyes watched the silent battlefield. His face was tired, worn from endless hours of command. Yet in his eyes there was something fierce. One officer whispered, "Sir, we did it. We actually defeated them." Reyes nodded, but his voice was heavy. "No, this battle is over. But the war has just begun, and the galaxy is watching." And the galaxy was indeed watching. Across distant worlds, species who had long lived in fear of the Dravak now whispered a new name: humanity. On trading stations, smugglers spoke in hushed tones. The Dravak lost to humans. On border worlds, slaves lifted their heads with hope. If humans can fight, maybe we all can. And inside enemy territory, even Dravak soldiers muttered with unease. They are not prey. They are something worse. The Dravak High Command sat in silence as reports came in. Their grand fleet, their pride, their terror, their weapon of control was gone. Entire systems mourned their dead. The Supreme Commander's voice trembled with rage. One species has undone centuries of dominance. How? How? But none had an answer. For the first time in their history, the Dravak felt powerless. Back on Earth, the people cheered. Bells rang across cities. Families wept for the lost, but they wept with pride. Humanity had faced the galaxy's most dangerous. Hunters and survived. In schools, children whispered new words with excitement. We are strong. In streets, banners flew. We will not kneel. The victory had become more than survival. It had become identity. But Admiral Reyes knew what. Others did not. Humanity's strength did not come only from dreadnoughts or secret weapons. It came from will, from the unity of billions who refused to surrender, from the courage of soldiers who fought even when outnumbered, from the spirit of a species that had always risen after every fall. That spirit was what made them dangerous. The Phoenix Rising returned to its hidden dock, scarred but alive. I spoke softly across the fleet. Adaptation complete. New strategies uploaded. Future conflicts will be met with greater efficiency. The humans stared in awe. They had not only built a weapon, they had built a future. A future the galaxy was not ready for. Far beyond Earth. In the cold halls of neutral species, leaders argued. Should we ally with them? One asked. Or fear them? Another replied. They are too young, a third said. And yet, they are already stronger than the Dravak. What will they become in centuries? The chamber fell into silence. No one dared answer. And so it was decided, not by words, but by whispers. By fear spreading faster than fire. From that day onward, across the galaxy, a new truth was spoken. The most feared species was no longer the Dravak. It was humanity. Humanity did not celebrate too long. They knew the galaxy would not forget, and not all would cheer. For every ally who hoped, there would be an enemy who feared. And fear always brings war. Admiral Reyes looked to the stars. His voice was quiet but certain. They will come again. Others will test us. The galaxy will never leave us in peace. But let them come. He turned to his officers, eyes burning with fire. Because we are ready, and we are human. The stars waited, silent and endless. Somewhere, the next enemy was already watching. But one thing was clear. The galaxy would never again underestimate Earth. And humanity's story was only beginning. Asterisk.